Carl Jung once said something that can make us look at growing older in a completely different way. He believed that the biggest tragedy in life is not getting older. The real tragedy is when a person stops growing inside. Because we all know someone like this, someone who has many years behind them, but their eyes still have excitement. They laugh easily. They get excited about small things. They talk about tomorrow like tomorrow is a gift. And then there are people who are much younger, but somehow they already feel tired. They stopped dreaming. They stopped exploring. They stopped being surprised by life. And it makes you wonder, what happened? Because age is not only something written on your birthday cake. Age is also something that happens inside your mind. There are people who are 80 years old with the energy of someone starting a new adventure, and there are people at 40 who feel like they have already finished their story. So what is the difference? Carl Jung spent his life studying the human mind, and one thing he understood was this: a person stays alive inside when they continue becoming, not just existing, becoming, learning, changing, discovering. And today we are talking about 9 tiny habits that many happy and youthful people have. Not expensive habits, not complicated habits. Small things that quietly keep the spirit alive. And while you're watching, I want you to think about something. Am I still allowing myself to grow? Because you might discover that you are already doing some of these things without even realizing it. So let's get into it. Habit number 1. They keep their sense of surprise alive. Now this one sounds simple, but it is actually powerful. Have you noticed something about children? They can find magic anywhere. A little puddle becomes an ocean. A cardboard box becomes a spaceship. A funny-looking cloud becomes a whole story. Children don't need much to be amazed. But somewhere along the way, many adults lose that. We become too familiar with everything. The sunrise. We've seen it before. A beautiful song. That's just a song. A peaceful morning. Nothing special. But people who stay young inside have a different habit. They still allow life to surprise them. They notice things. They stop for a moment. They say, "Wow, I never looked at it that way before." Carl Jung believed that the human mind grows when we remain open to new experiences. When everything becomes predictable, life becomes smaller. But when we stay open, life keeps showing us new doors. I once heard a story about an older woman who planted flowers every year. Her neighbor asked her, "Why do you keep planting flowers? You've already seen these flowers thousands of times." She smiled and said, "Yes, but the flowers haven't seen me today." That answer is beautiful, because she understood something. Life is not boring. Sometimes we just stop looking. Maybe the secret is not finding a new world. Maybe it's learning to see the old world with new eyes. So tomorrow, try something small. Look at your morning differently. Listen to a song you haven't heard in years. Take a different road. Notice something beautiful. You don't need to become younger. You just need to stay awake to life. Habit number 2. They don't let their age become their identity. Now this one is huge, because many people don't age because of time. They age because of the story they keep telling themselves. They wake up and say, "I'm too old. I can't do that anymore. That part of my life is over." And slowly, they start living inside those words. Now, I'm not saying we ignore reality. Of course, our bodies change. Life changes. But your age should be a chapter, not the entire book. Think about someone who says, "I'm 70, so I can't learn technology." Then another person says, "I'm 70, and I'm finally learning something new." Same age, different mindset, different experience of life. Carl Jung talked about becoming your true self, and part of that means refusing to let outside labels control who you are. You are not just your age, you are your memories, your dreams, your humor, your experiences, your curiosity, your personality, your heart. And let's be honest, some people are young, but act like they already need a retirement chair. Meanwhile, some older people are planning adventures and making everyone else tired, just trying to keep up with them. Those are the people we love being around, because they remind us life is still happening. So instead of saying, "I'm too old for that," try saying, "I wonder if I can still do that." That one small change opens a door. Habit number 3, they create little adventures inside normal days. Now, before someone says, "Adventure? I can't travel around the world." Relax. I'm not asking you to climb mountains or jump out of airplanes. Some people hear adventure and immediately think, "I need a passport, a suitcase, and a lot of money." No, adventure can be very small. It can be trying a new food, walking somewhere you've never walked before, calling someone you haven't spoken to in a long time, learning something random, changing your routine just a little, because the brain loves freshness. When every day looks exactly the same, life starts feeling like a repeated movie. Same scene, same characters, same ending. But tiny changes wake something up inside us. I knew someone who started doing one simple thing every week. They visited a different local place. Sometimes it was a park, sometimes a small shop, sometimes just a new street. And they said something interesting. "I stopped waiting for big moments to enjoy life." That sentence stayed with me, because many people are waiting for retirement, waiting for money, waiting for the perfect time. But life is happening while we wait. The happiest people don't always have the biggest lives. They simply notice more moments. And sometimes the best adventure is just saying, "Today I will do something slightly different." Because a small change can remind your mind, "I'm still alive. I'm still exploring." And that feeling is where youth begins. Habit number 4, they keep interesting conversations alive. Now, this one is something many people don't talk about, but the people who stay young inside usually have one thing in common. They are still interested in people. They still enjoy a good conversation, not just talking about problems, not just talking about who did what wrong, not just repeating the same complaints every day. Because let's be honest, some conversations feel like they need a battery low warning. After 5 minutes, you feel tired. You need to go home and recharge. But then you meet someone who makes you feel alive. You talk for an hour and think, "Wow, I forgot how much time passed." Those are the people who keep their minds young. Carl Jung believed that human connection is a powerful part of becoming ourselves. We understand ourselves through our relationships, the stories we share, the experiences we exchange, the lessons we learn from each other. And here's something beautiful. You can learn something from almost anyone. A child can teach you how to play. A young person can teach you a new way of thinking. An older person can teach you patience and wisdom. Everyone carries a story. But sometimes we are too busy talking to hear it. A youthful person asks questions. They say, "Tell me about that. How did you do that? What was that experience like?" They don't walk around thinking, "I already know everything." Because the moment we believe we know everything, life becomes very small. Imagine sitting at a table with someone who has lived 80 years. Think about all the stories inside that person, the funny moments, the mistakes, the adventures, the lessons. A whole movie is sitting there, and all it needs is someone willing to press play. So today, try something simple. Have one meaningful conversation. Ask someone a question you've never asked before. You might discover a whole new world inside another person, and you might also discover something new about yourself. Habit number 5. They have something they take care of. Now, this one is beautiful. Many people think happiness comes from getting more money, more things, more attention, more success. But sometimes happiness comes from having something to give, something that needs your care, something that depends on your love. It could be a garden, a pet, a hobby, a family tradition, a small project, even a simple plant sitting by your window. There is something powerful about waking up and knowing something needs me. Carl Jung often explored the importance of meaning, because human beings don't just need comfort. We need purpose. We need to feel that our existence matters. And sometimes purpose doesn't come in a huge, dramatic way. Sometimes it comes quietly. A person watering their flowers every morning. Someone cooking a family recipe that has been passed down. Someone teaching a skill they learned years ago. Small acts. Big meaning. I remember hearing about an elderly man who built little wooden toys for children. He wasn't famous. Nobody knew his name, but every week he would make these toys and give them away. Someone asked him, "Why do you spend so much time doing this?" He smiled and said, "Because I like knowing that somewhere a child is smiling because of something I made." That is youth, not the number on a birthday cake, the feeling that you still have something beautiful to offer. And here's a question for you. What is something you love taking care of? Maybe it's your garden, maybe it's your family, maybe it's your cooking, maybe it's something nobody else even notices. Share it in the comments, because sometimes the smallest things reveal the biggest parts of who we are. Habit number 6. They allow themselves to change their mind. Now this one might surprise some people, because many of us were taught that changing your mind means you were wrong. But that's not always true. Sometimes changing your mind means you are growing. Think about it. When you were younger, you believed certain things. You had certain opinions. You saw the world one way. Then life happened. You met people. You experienced things. You learned. And slowly, your understanding changed. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. Carl Jung believed that becoming whole requires us to keep exploring different parts of ourselves. We are not finished products. We are always becoming. But some people get stuck. They say, "That's just how I am. I've always done it this way." People never change. And then they wonder why life feels smaller. A person who stays young understands that growth does not have an expiration date. You can learn a new skill at 60. You can change a habit at 70. You can discover a new passion at 80. There is no sign saying, "Sorry, personal growth has closed for the day." Imagine if a tree said, "I'm too old to grow new branches." That would be strange. But humans sometimes do exactly that. We convince ourselves that our best days are behind us. But what if your best chapter hasn't happened yet? What if the next version of you is waiting? So don't be afraid to say, "I used to think that, but now I see it differently." That sentence is not a sign of losing yourself. It is a sign that you are still alive inside. And coming up next, we're going to talk about 3 habits that might be the biggest reason some people reach old age with peace, energy, and a smile that never disappears. Stay with me, because the final habits are where Carl Jung's ideas become even deeper. Habit number 7. They notice beauty where others rush past. One of the biggest secrets of youthful people is this. They still notice life. They don't just pass through the day, they actually experience it. A beautiful sunset, a favorite song, the smell of fresh rain, a good conversation, a peaceful morning. These small things still reach them. And that is powerful. Because when we stop noticing beauty, life starts feeling like a routine. Carl Jung believed that the inner world shapes how we experience the outer world. 2 people can look at the same day. One sees a boring Monday. The other sees another chance to enjoy life. The difference is not always the situation. Sometimes it's the way they look at it, so don't rush through every moment. Slow down sometimes. Look around. There is still beauty waiting for you. Habit number 8. They protect their energy from things that don't matter. Now this one becomes more important as we grow older. You realize something. Not every battle deserves your energy. Not every opinion needs your response. Not every problem deserves your peace. Some people spend years being angry about things they cannot change. They carry yesterday's arguments into today's happiness. But youthful people learn to ask, is this really worth my peace? Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is simply let something go, not because you are weak, but because your happiness is valuable. Your energy is precious. Don't give it away to every little thing. Save some for laughter. Save some for love. Save some for enjoying your life. Habit number 9. They keep a relationship with their future self. This might be the most important one. Happy, youthful people still look forward. They still have something they want to experience, a place they want to visit, something they want to learn, someone they want to spend time with. They don't see life as a door closing. They see it as a story still being written. Carl Jung believed that becoming yourself is a lifelong journey. There is always another lesson, another discovery, another version of you waiting. Age does not end your story. Only giving up on yourself does. So keep asking, what is something I am excited about? Because the moment you have something to look forward to, a part of you becomes young again. So there you have it. 9 tiny habits that help people stay happy and young inside. Not because they stopped aging, but because they never stopped living. They stay open. They stay interested. They keep loving. They keep becoming. And maybe that is the real secret Carl Jung was pointing toward. Youth is not only something you see in the mirror. Youth is something you carry in your spirit. So I want to ask you, which one of these habits connected with you the most? Number 1? Number 5? Number 9? Share it in the comments because I would love to hear your story. And remember, you are never too old to discover something new. You are never too old to laugh again. You are never too old to begin another beautiful chapter. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us for more conversations about psychology, wisdom, and living a meaningful life. Take care of yourself, and keep that youthful spirit alive.